This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news of the business of podcasting. Brought to you by Spreaker from iHeart. I'm Tom Webster. Here's what you need to know for today, Monday, September 18th. First, from our friends at Westwood One, AM/FM radio and podcasts can recapture lost TV reach due to the writers and actors strikes, as 22% of the heavy linear TV audience say they will watch less TV this fall, and that's from friend of the podcast, Pierre Bouvard. According to a Maru Matchbox national study from late August of over 1,000 respondents, 27% say they'll watch less linear TV this fall season due to increased reruns of old content, game shows, and reality TV. Among those who said they'll watch less TV due to strike-altered content, 68% said they intend to replace TV watching time with listening to podcasts, music, and AM/FM radio. Using Nielsen ComsPoint data from 2021, Bouvard demonstrates that moving 20% of a $4 million TV campaign's budget to AM/FM radio increases reach with people 25 to 54 by 70%. And of course, as our own The Medium Moves the Message study demonstrated back in March, podcasting was already getting close to TV's weekly reach with 18 to 34-year-old viewers, and that was before the strike started. So as the fall TV slowdown kicks in, audio's already valuable contributions to multimedia ad buys can potentially grow even more. Next, from Signal Hill Insights, this is not my beautiful host-read ad. How did I get here? And shout out to author Paul Rice-Mandel for the solid Talking Heads reference there. Paul tackles two widely held beliefs in podcasting. Podcast ads outperform any kind of ad, and host-read is the best kind of podcast ad. Reflecting back to 2013, podcast advertising at the time still largely consisted of brands getting fresh ad copy to podcasts just in time for that week's episode. Host-read became the norm not by design, but by happenstance. And Paul argues the industry has matured to the point that it's time to recognize podcasting's strengths in advertising aren't because podcasting is magically endowed. Each tool has its own strengths and weaknesses, including such heretical truths as the fact that he has seen announcer-read ads generate more lift than host-read in certain situations. The way forward is to invest in research and understand why podcast advertising's happy accidents work, and leverage that for repeatable, scalable success. Digiday reports that Substack writers are launching podcasts on the platform to ease their reliance on ad revenue. With the growing popularity of paid podcast subscription options, comes more options for newsletter writers. 4 Substack writers told Digiday a major appeal of monetizing podcasts through subscriptions is that independent writers don't have to worry about ad market fluctuations or brand safety concerns. Substack takes 10% of subscription revenue on podcasts hosted in their platform, and writers are able to leverage existing newsletter audiences to give a companion podcast traffic, while publishers with established podcasts like Bloody Elbow report their paid podcast subscription growth has even begun to outpace paid newsletter subscriptions. And as PodPod reports, NASA is to release the first full season of a Spanish-language podcast. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration's stable of podcasts grows to 18 this month, with the launch of Universo Curioso de la NASA, a new Spanish-language podcast launched in time with the Hispanic Heritage Month in the United States. The 5-episode season, hosted by Goddard Space Flight Center communications specialist Noelia Gonzalez, explores the history and contributions of NASA's Hispanic and Latino workforce. According to Edison Research's Latino podcast listener report in 2022, 34% of the Latino population in the U.S. are monthly podcast listeners. That's just 5% lower than the average population. There's demand for podcasts natively in Spanish as the medium grows and reaches wider audiences, and NASA is targeting that demand, as well as Mars, I think. And for the rest of the news, Steve Pratt talks to Tom Webster, hey, that's me, about why you don't deserve an audience. I don't mean you specifically, but, you know, you people. Nairobi News reports the top podcasts in Kenya, according to Spotify data, and eMarketer data shows that despite reaching 11% of U.S. adult daily media time, only 5%, 4.9 to be precise, of U.S. ad spend is forecasted to go to audio. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by Brian Barletta, Gavin Gaddis, and me. This episode is hosted on Art19. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Tom Webster. Download us again tomorrow.